We talked about envy and we talked about some deep things. I'm going to tell you a Las Vegas story. Kenny Epstein is a partner of mine in the Barbary Coast Hotel and Casino. Totally opposite of it. He's born in Chicago, gambling all of his life. His grandfather came from Russia, and he was sewing buttonholes on the uniform for the Tsar's army uniforms, and they got him out at 16, sent him to Chicago. And Kenny's father, he'd be about 110 right now, grew up in Chicago selling newspapers on the street to Al Capone. And Kenny came along a little bit later in life, and his dad's name was Ike Epstein. And he said, my dad told me every day of my life, Kenny, listen to what I tell you. There's 3 things in life you've got to learn. Listen to me. I know. Show up, be on time, and be on the square. Kenny, you'll be the only one. Dad, I've heard it a million times. So Kenny, we sold our company and Kenny bought a casino downtown, and it's getting to be on the historical record. It's been there a long time, and he's been remodeling, cleaning it up. And he calls me about 3 years ago. He said, remember my dad said, I know it, Kenny. Show up, be on time, and be on the square. You'll be the only one. He says, do you remember, I forget her name, Mary or something was in the cashier's case. I sure do, she was there. He said, she's been here for 35 years. She shows up, she's on time, she's never taken a vacation, and somebody got sick in her family, she's been gone for 2 weeks. Guess what? She's had a scheme that's been going on for 30 years. She's been taking X number of dollars with this arrangement she had. She's taken us off for $300,000 or $400,000. She wasn't on the square. I wish my dad was here. He'd be right. She showed up, she was on time, but she wasn't on the, Kenny, if you do it, you'll be the only one. That's how easy it is, and yet that's how hard it is. She was a sweet lady. I almost don't even believe it. We had a girl working for us as a receptionist, and we had our fence company, and there, right there, Tiberti Fence. My dad is, I tell you what, he was a character. Look at this. He's got his UNLV hat on. He loved the university. He was one of the first groups that went with the university foundation to China, and he puts this sign in his briefcase thing and sneaks it up with double take and puts it on the Great Wall of China. He takes a picture and he sends it out to everybody in a Christmas card. Everybody's calling me up and said, your dad is the most serious guy. He knocked me out. I said, well, we build fences. He said, you didn't. He wasn't bashful. He was very clever. That's Tiberti Fence. So you saw the procedures and things, I mean the signs out there, and what's the harm in being nice? That's the title of the speech. I had it at the beginning and I took it out and I moved it back to the back. So my secretary, my assistant, who's been with me for 25 years, her name is Mary, and my dad had a cancer surgery at about 85 years old, and we signed one of those power medical things where I was going to make the decisions, and I also took over his checkbook. He had he liked to write all of his own checks, and he did all that. I said, let's put this on the computer because it'll be better. And no. I said, well, he signed it, put it on the computer. When he finally got out, he was getting better. It took a while. He said, I want to start writing my checks again. And I said, okay. So he'd come up to Mary and he'd give her his checks and say she'd put them in the computer. That way, if something happened, we had everything. He was trying to get his life more simple, and he had lots of things. So he was simplifying as I'm telling you. And somebody he'd had a payment schedule with, like 10th of the month, it was $8,000 a month or something, and a couple times he came up and he said, Mary, would you write this check for me? So-and-so's here. And she said, well, J.A., Mr. Tiberti, it's not due till Monday. This is Thursday. He says, I know, but they're here. And so Mary, she's by the book. She's a Iowa farm girl. She's been with me forever, and she loved my dad. And he said, okay. So one day comes up, 3rd month in a row, and says, so-and-so's here. And she says, Mr. Tiberti, that check's not due till, it's like, that's the 1st of the month. It's not due till the 8th or the 10th. And he was a very humble type guy. And he said, well, I know, but, and she said, no, it's your money. I'm sorry. And so she says, I'll get it done, and I'll bring it down in a couple of minutes for you to sign. So he starts to walk away. We were upstairs, and there was a little stairway down, and he gets close to I promised him he had to used the handrail to come up and down after his cancer surgery, and he grabs the handrail and he turns to Mary and he says, "Mary, what's the harm in being nice anyway?" So Mary goes home that night and she says, "I couldn't sleep. It was his money. He owed it. It was early. All he was asking me to do was to help him write the check and he would sign it. And I was telling him, it's not due, it's 5 days early." And his comment was, "What's the harm in being nice?" And she said, "I couldn't think of one thing that would harm in him being nice." He had the money in the account. They really shouldn't have been asking for it. And so, quoting from the book, which came out after this, you'll see in the thing that I put it on his funeral thing. Here at the back, it's "What's the harm in being nice?" J.A. Tiberti. Because it really, I never had thought of it that way, because he was a nice guy automatically, but what's the harm in being nice? The power of nice, which you'll have in your little bag out there, is that, but nice has an image problem. Nice gets no respect. To be labeled nice usually means the other person has little positive say about you. It's like a blind date. They've got a good personality. You always wonder when you hear that, you know, how is she? Well, she's got a good personality. To be nice is to be considered Pollyanna, passive, wimpy, or a milquetoast. Let me be clear that nice is not naive, and J.A. Tiberti was nice. He was the least bit of anything of being naive. Nice does not mean smiling blandly while others walk all over you. Nice does not mean being a doormat. So we're doing a job up at the Army, the atomic test site up outside of Mercury, Nevada, where they want to put our big nuclear repository. In the late 50s, 58, 60, and we were doing a big commissary. And we had to buy all the glasses, we had to buy all the plates, we had to buy all the silverware. Man, it's not like we do. We want to build big, thick concrete walls with big steel doors, and here we were buying all kind of placemats and plastic things to put the dishes in. And these government workers would come out of San Francisco, someplace like Denver, St. Louis, and Washington, D.C. We had these monthly meetings, and they would harangue about all these little things that weren't supposedly the way the book said. So I wasn't there, but Don Beagle was there. I'll show you in a minute. And all of a sudden, in the middle of this, all these people were there. He gets up and he goes over and he lays on the floor. And the guy says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Look, if you want to walk all over me, just let's get this done now. You can walk on my back and do anything you want." And my dad's, here he is, right in the middle. 58 years. He started off as my dad's secretary, ended up by running the company every day. He just passed away about a month ago. He was 83 years old. And he was standing there as a young guy, and he said, "I couldn't believe your dad's laying on the floor right by the conference table." And he said, "If you guys just want to keep hounding me and walking all over," you know. He wasn't meek, but that was the end of all that. When he got up off the floor, they didn't do it. I would argue that nice is the toughest four-letter word you'll ever hear. It means moving forward with clear-eyed confidence. That was J.A. Tiberti. It comes from knowing that being nice and placing other people's needs on the same level as your own will get you everything you want. This is all right out of the book. The power of nice will help you to open doors, improve your relationship with work and your home life. You will sleep a whole lot better. It's often the small kindnesses, the smiles, the gestures, the compliments, a favor that make your day. Simple, simple things that a lot of us just don't seem to think about it. Mother Teresa said, "Kind words can be short to speak, but their echoes are truly endless." The power of nice shows that nice companies have lower employee turnover. 58 years. Dave Belvin, 44 years. Al Wilson, almost 30. We've had Mary, 25 years. We've had a lot of people for a long time. And I give it to my dad's humility and likability and being nice. you have lower recruitment costs, and you have higher productivity. Nice people live longer, they're healthier, and by the way, they make more money. These are all studies. In today's interconnected world of companies and people with reputation for cooperation and fair play, forge the kind of relationships that lead to bigger and better opportunities, both in business and in life. I've quoted him a lot. Albert Einstein said, "The ideals which have lighted my way time after time have given me new courage to face life cheerfully, have been kindness, beauty, and truth." Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here, and hopefully I've learned something. I have a couple of things I'd like to show you, and I'd like to have a little discussion, and we'll try a couple of inverts. The first thing I want to show you is a 2.5 minute, well, I guess we're going to go through these first. I wanted to tell you why these are here. This is my father. This is my young brother, J.A Tiberti III, and I mean the second, and J.A Tiberti III. Angelo just graduated, was married here last Friday night, and he'd be very proud that he got this degree and his master's in civil engineering and business. This is J.A Tiberti at the University of Southern California, USC. We're going to talk about this in a second. He did not get to graduate because the war was coming along, World War II, and they went to the Army Air Corps. The Corps of Engineers called him to go up to Las Vegas, 8,000 people in 1940, 41 to do the runways, which became, now it was the gunnery range for World War II. And there he is at USC. Here I am, 1967 at USC, graduating with a degree in finance because I couldn't do engineering like you people. And there he is in 1967. Here he is at Nellis Air Force Base. His boss was in Los Angeles, so he really was in charge. And he said it was god-awful, it was a desert, there was no swamp coolers. How did he end up there? Here's his War Department, district engineer. Let me stop right there, Dan, 1 second. He called his boss in LA. He told me this story, and I forgot the guy's name, you know, Walter something, he was the inspector. And Walter was talking about different things, and one of them was there were some difficulties of blah, 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 and maybe $100 would smooth things over. So my dad says, well, I'm new, I don't want to call his boss in Los Angeles. So the inspector is beating around the bush that maybe if I gave him $100, some of these things would go away. And he says, well, let me just tell you one thing. If you think that $100 is going to be the first and the last $100, you have a lot to learn in life. My answer is no, but you do what you think is best. And he says, well, that's not going to happen then. So that's when I learned about this concept of his compass was automatically there. If you ever get challenged in a situation where you think that you can give somebody something. Let me tell you something else we used to do. We used to give our project managers and our assistant project managers and our junior engineers, oh geez, electric company so-and-so is going to take 4 of us fishing down to Baja, California. And I said, I don't like this. This is a cost-plus job, and you're in charge of change orders. It's a $200 million job, and you're doing the change orders on the electrical stuff, and I don't trust human beings. We all have this problem. Gosh, it was so fun down there, and it was a lot of money, and so I wrestled with it for a long time, and I went to our 4 or 5 big projects. I said, you know what? I'm making a command decision. Nobody can take a present from anybody. I'm sorry. We give presents to people. Perhaps I am deeply looking for some favor back. I hope not. But why are they going to give you, a junior engineer, and you, a project manager, a trip to, why? It doesn't make any sense. We're all camaraderies and it's fun and we all know each other. But it's well, like I talked about earlier, it's that little thing that we start rationalizing, and then when you see this change order, and they're never clear. You got to measure all those pieces of conduit, and how many bends, and then you get into switch gear. Only an electrical engineer understands half of it, and that's all. You have no chance of knowing what they're talking about. But geez, he just went on this great trip, and so, okay. And I pass it on to my partner, and I'm supposed to think I'm representing him. All of a sudden, I don't have that confidence anymore. So those are the type of things that I hope that you can learn, that when you see something, that when the guy suggests a roundabout way, that you don't get sucked in, because like my dad was told, that won't be the last time. It's just the beginning, because once you appease, it's all over with.